What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with NIO, Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down why tomorrow is going to be a very important day as we have Nvda announcing its earnings, how this may end up affecting the markets. I'm also going to talk about some new developments on the charts and what you should be watching for going into tomorrow, as we also have the FOMC minutes coming out. Before I begin the devil's information, before I talk about all the economic data in the charts, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit $500 into the account, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. Deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 free stocks. The offer ends in just a couple of days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, now let's break down what's happening to the market. So, looking at NIO came down to about 5.8, which is the level we called out from yesterday. We mentioned that this thing might actually see some selling, and I told you if we ended up losing $6, watch 5.79 to 5.8 as support, and that's where we saw this thing bounce. Now, one thing worth noting is that the whole market looks like it could attempt to push a little higher tomorrow when we open, but then we might get a rejection off some critical resistance, so we might just continue to remain range bound. And I think the market's going to likely do that approaching the FOMC minutes tomorrow. So when is that coming out? Let me go over this. So for Wednesday, which is tomorrow, February 21st, we have Bostic from the Fed giving a speech. Then we also have the FOMC minutes coming out at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be very important. The Fed is going to give us more insights about what they're thinking, what they see happening in the economy, and we're going to learn more about the different Fed speakers and their views. This might cause a big move, so be very careful at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then we'll see what that causes. So watch for volatility tomorrow as we approach that period. All the data approaching it is very minor except for the FOMC minutes, and we'll see how it goes. Now, on top of that, after the market closes tomorrow, we have something else coming out. We have the one and only Nvidia's earnings. Nvidia's earnings is going to be massive. It's going to cause a huge move, and that's because Nvidia is known for affecting the whole market. Nvidia can affect the way the QQQ and SPY move. It is known for doing that, and it's a very, very volatile stock. So we're expecting around a 10% plus move by Nvidia. That's most likely going to happen. And whichever way Nvidia goes, the market is going to follow. Is Nvidia about to cause the whole market to tank? It's a possibility. Is it about to help this downtrend continue? Maybe. Is Nvidia about to cause the market to bounce and start running up to high levels again? Who knows, guys? We'll just have to wait and see. But as far as NIO goes, NIO is going to get caught up in the middle of all of this. I'm not trying to say that NIO is always dictated solely by the market, but it does play somewhat of a role, and it does affect NIO on days like this. So you can see how NIO is affected by other tickers. The market came down. NIO also followed the trend, being down 3%. Then we saw NIO try to rebound. Another factor that affected NIO was the insurance registrations that came out. This is for February 5th through the 18th. This data just came out, I think, yesterday night, so late at night yesterday. This came out. And I wanted to talk about this today. Looking at the registrations that came out, things are not looking as strong for NIO. They only had about 1,500 registrations for the second week of February, but you can't forget about the fact that we just had Lunar New Year, so it's no surprise that this happens. And going forward, as we approach the later days of the month, as we approach later periods, I'm sure NIO's delivery should come right back up. During this period of Lunar New Year, we tend to see sales fall because of the big holiday in China. But later on, things will improve. So, that being said, I just want to mention that looking at NIO, with Chinese New Year and the holiday coming out, we're seeing like lower sales throughout the market. If you look at the Li Auto, their sales went down. Same thing happened to Xpeng and the others. Look at NIO specifically, the insurance registrations dropped incredibly for the second week of February because of Chinese New Year. And it happens, guys, nothing to be too afraid of. But overall, don't forget that January was very strong. This February is likely going to be kind of weak for NIO. I do expect that. But things should be back to normal for the month of March because of strong deliveries, historical trends, and also because of the fact that NIO is going to see a lot of growth month over month relative to February. So if you look at Xpeng, their sales are down as well. If you look at others like Tesla, their sales have dropped quite a bit as well. So there's a very common trend here. BYD, big drop in sales for the month of February. So it's happening across the board. It's not just NIO. That has to do with current consumer practices and traditions in China. And it's nothing to be too ashamed of. It just happens, guys. I know this data is kind of like negatively affecting NIO as they only had about 1,500 deliveries, but it is what it is. Not NIO's fault that that's going on around the world and in China. So we just have to be patient. Things will be fine. Do not worry. We had about 40 million in volume, a little bit below average. And on top of this, if you look at the short volume relative to price, it was about 42%. So right now, the short volume is still at a kind of high level compared to before, but it's not as bad. Bank of America Securities is neutral on NIO. Price price ratio is bouncing now, it's coming down a little bit. NIO is losing some strength. And then Wednesdays tend to be green about 56% of the time historically. So we'll see how NIO does. But I want to just talk about what I think is going to pan out. So honestly, guys, I can't give you guys a prediction for after the FOMC minutes come out. That's going to depend on the data. So I can tell you as we approach the FOMC minutes, what's likely going to happen. I think that NIO is going to attempt to rebound. There's a possible inverse head and shoulders like structure here. We got this nice liquidity grab. I think it's going to be testing $6, kind of shuffle around 6 for some time. Maybe push a little higher. We do have this gap above to fill. Might pop a little bit, test 6, come a little bit above it, then come right back down and shuffle around $6. But then once the FOMC minutes come out, a big move is going to come in either direction depending on what the Fed announces. And then after that, we're going to see even more volatility after Nvidia's earnings. So I'll be watching for those very carefully. What about for SPY? What's going on with SPY? On SPY, I think that this thing is going to attempt to test the 30 minutes 50 EMA in the 497s. I think it might push a little bit when we open, then come back down and kind of shuffle a little bit for some time. It may get a nice big move after the FOMC minutes come out. Look for a pop and then a rejection and sideways price action between 497 and like 495. I think it might pop at first, come back down and trade sideways. Then look for a big move once the minutes come out. The minutes may cause this thing to push back up to the 500s, or they might cause this thing to rug pull all the way down to 490. It all depends on the minutes. Then once the minutes are out, Nvidia's earnings will dictate which way this goes next. We'll just have to wait and see. For SPY, not SPY, Tesla, I think that tomorrow Tesla's going to open up a little lower, then push up towards 195 again, then reject and come back down, just trade sideways for the remainder of the day. And then we're going to be dictated by the FOMC minutes. So we will see if they launch Tesla close to 200 or if Tesla gets a rug pull and ends up falling back down to 190 or below that. And then Nvidia's earnings is going to have a big effect on Tesla because Nvidia has a lot of deals with Tesla, supplying them with semiconductors and such. So that's very important for Tesla. As far as the QQQ goes, the QQQ, in my opinion, is looking a little bit weak. It could rebound and test 428 again, if not 429. But then I think it's going to trade sideways once it gets up there. So look for a little pop and then some sideways price action. And then we'll see if we get a little pop thanks to the FOMC minutes or not. Do we push up to 431 plus, or do we get a rug pull and sink to the lower 420s? And then we'll see what happens after Nvidia's earnings. That's going to have a very big effect on the QQQ. And we'll just have to see how it goes after that. And then on top of that, we have the notorious Nvidia. We did close above 690, but we're still below 700. Not the worst of closes. The question is, will this continue to downtrend? We are looking kind of weak. I could see this kind of like rebound, retest 692 to 700 and come back down. There is still a risk of a little bit more downside as it's looking kind of weak, but it does not matter. What matters more is going to be its earnings. After the market closes, we will see if this thing launches back up towards 800 or if this thing ends up falling all the way down towards the lower 600s. We will see which way, which way it goes. So watch and see what earnings cause. They're going to be very, very important for Nvidia, and then Nvidia is going to dictate the entire market. So get ready for that. Otherwise, we'll see which way it goes tomorrow. It might just trade within its range. It might pop again, retest 692 if not 700, come back down and trade sideways, and then we'll see what happens after earnings. That's going to dictate which way this stock goes. It's also going to dictate the whole market, so just be ready. Aapl, we saw some buyers trying to defend it, but it's barely holding 180, looking kind of weak on a nice downtrend. If we end up losing 180, watch 178. For resistance, watch 182. I think that there's a very good chance we test 182, then reject, retest 180, and just trade sideways into range. And then we'll see what happens after that. Do we get another break or not? It's best to just be very patient. But I think that it's going to try to base between 178 to 180 for now. And then we're going to see if that truly will continue from technicals depending on the FOMC minutes and everything. So look for a little pop and then a drop, a retest of 180 and sideways price action, and then we'll see what the minutes bring. I mean, I really can't predict that. We'll see if we get a big move or not. We'll also see what Nvidia causes. Those are two things I can't truly predict, but expect some sideways range-bound price action as we approach the events. So that being said, guys, for NIO, I think that NIO is going to be dictated by the market tomorrow. It does have a potential bullish structure where it could rebound a little bit. So look for a little bounce to retest 6, if not 6.2, and then come back down and trade sideways for some time. And then it's going to be approaching the FOMC minutes. So we'll see if this causes anything. And then also don't forget about Nvidia's earnings after the market closes. That is going to be massive. So that being said, Thank you all so much for listening. Have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. Remain calm, cool, and collected. And I thank you all so much for your attention and for watching the video this far. Have a great day. Get ready for tomorrow. It's going to be a huge day. We'll see what happens to the market, so be prepared and get ready as huge volatility is coming. Thank you for listening. Have a good one. I appreciate everyone, and peace out.